Welcome back to the Bible Breakdown channel. Today's video will be the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Ever wondered about the story of the Garden of Eden? It's more than just a tale about an apple and a snake. It's a foundational story that has shaped art, literature, and our understanding of human nature for millennia. Today, we're going to dive deep into this ancient narrative, exploring its rich symbolism and timeless lessons. So, grab a comfy seat, and let's travel back to the very beginning. According to the book of Genesis, after creating the heavens and the earth, God planted a garden in a place called Eden, which means delight or pleasure in Hebrew. This wasn't just any garden, it was a paradise, a perfect world. Rivers flowed through it, watering a landscape filled with every kind of beautiful and fruitful tree. The air was pure, life was abundant, and everything existed in perfect harmony. It was a place where heaven and earth met. Into this idyllic world, God placed the first man, Adam. His name, in Hebrew, is connected to the word for earth or ground, reminding us of his connection to the creation he was meant to care for. Adam's job was to work the garden and take care of it. Imagine that your job is to tend to paradise. No deadlines, no stressful meetings, just a beautiful, peaceful existence in direct communion with the Creator. But Adam was alone. God observed, "It is not good for the man to be alone." This is a profound statement. Even in a perfect world, with everything one could possibly desire, companionship is essential. So, God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and from one of his ribs, he formed the first woman, Eve. When Adam awoke and saw her, he recognized her as his counterpart, bone of his bones and flesh of his flesh. They were a team, partners in this perfect world, living without shame or fear, in complete openness with each other and with God. Now, in the middle of this perfect garden stood two special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God gave Adam and Eve complete freedom in the garden with one single rule. You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. This one prohibition wasn't about God withholding something good. It was about choice, trust, and the nature of love. True relationship requires freedom. For Adam and Eve's love for God to be genuine, they had to have the freedom to choose to obey Him. This boundary was a daily opportunity for them to trust God's goodness and wisdom over their own understanding. For a while, everything was perfect. They walked with God in the cool of the day, enjoying a relationship we can only imagine. But then, a new character enters the scene. A serpent, described as more crafty than any of the wild animals God had made. This serpent approaches Eve and plants a seed of doubt. He asks, "Did God really say, 'You must not eat from any tree in the garden'?" It's a subtle twist of God's words, designed to make God seem restrictive and untrustworthy. Eve corrects the serpent, but she also slightly alters God's command, adding that they weren't even supposed to touch the fruit. This small addition shows the seed of doubt is already taking root. The serpent seizes the opportunity. He directly contradicts God, saying, "You will not certainly die. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." This was the ultimate temptation. It wasn't just about a piece of fruit. It was about a desire for power, for autonomy, for the ability to be one's own God, deciding for oneself what is right and wrong. The serpent made disobedience look like enlightenment. He painted God as a cosmic killjoy, holding them back from their true potential. Eve looked at the fruit. It was beautiful, it looked delicious, and most of all, it promised wisdom. The desire to be like God, to have that forbidden knowledge, was too strong. She took a bite, and then she gave some to Adam, who was with her, and he ate it too. In that moment, everything changed. The story says their eyes were opened, but not to the divine wisdom they expected. Instead, they saw their own vulnerability. For the first time, they felt shame about their nakedness and tried to cover themselves with fig leaves. The innocent, open relationship they had with each other and with God was shattered. Fear replaced trust. When they heard God walking in the garden, they didn't run to greet Him as they used to. They hid. God called out, "Where are you?" This wasn't a question of location. God knew where they were. It was a question of relationship. A heartbroken father asking his children why they were distant. Adam blamed Eve. Eve blamed the serpent. No one took responsibility. The unity they once shared was replaced by blame and division. This act of disobedience, this choice to distrust God's goodness and define good and evil on their own terms, had consequences. God pronounced a series of judgments. The serpent was cursed. The woman would face pain in childbirth and a fractured relationship with her husband. The man would have to toil and sweat to get food from the ground, which would now produce thorns and thistles. And most tragically, they would eventually die, just as God had warned. Their bodies would return to the dust from which they were made. To prevent them from eating from the tree of life and living forever in this broken, sinful state, God banished Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. He placed a mighty cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way back. Paradise was lost. The story of the Garden of Eden isn't just an ancient myth about why we don't live in paradise anymore. It's a profound exploration of human nature, temptation, and the consequences of our choices. It shows us our deep-seated desire for autonomy and the destructive nature of pride. It illustrates how one act of distrust can unravel a perfect world, introducing shame, fear, blame, and suffering. But it also reminds us of what we were made for, a life of harmony, purpose, and intimate relationship with our Creator. The longing for Eden, for a return to that state of peace and belonging, is a theme that runs through the human story. The narrative doesn't just diagnose the problem. It points toward a future solution. It sets the stage for the rest of the biblical story, which is all about God's grand plan to redeem and restore what was lost, to make a way back to the tree of life. So, the next time you think of the Garden of Eden, don't just picture Adam, Eve, and an apple. Think about the choice they faced, a choice between trusting God's wisdom or trusting their own. It's a choice we all face in different ways every single day. The story serves as a timeless reminder of where we came from, what went wrong, and the enduring hope of restoration. Thanks for joining me on this journey back to the beginning. If you found this exploration fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that have shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what you find most compelling about the Eden narrative. Until next time, stay curious.